The shutter clicked as I captured the exact moment the antique vase shattered on the marble floor. Crystalline fragments danced in midair, caught by the golden light of the dining room chandelier. It wasn't the kind of photo I usually took, but that image, the horror on Victoria's face, the stunned silence of my parents, the surreal stillness after the storm, would come to define the Easter that detonated my entire life. My name is Leah Morgan. I'm 32, a professional photographer, and on that sun-drenched morning in Belmont Hills, nothing about the day seemed like it would end in chaos. My camera was slung over my shoulder more out of habit than intent. I was used to weddings, cityscapes, the occasional commissioned portrait, not domestic warfare disguised as brunch. But I had a feeling in my gut, a strange tightness, like the calm just before a lens cracks. "You're seriously wearing that?" Victoria's voice hit me like the pop of a flash bulb, sharp and intrusive. I was barely 3 steps into our parents' foyer, smoothing down my favorite cobalt blue blouse, vintage silk, hand-sewn detail, when she struck. Her manicured fingers fluttered like she was fending off bad taste. "God, Leah, you look like you raided someone's attic again." I didn't flinch. Not this time. I ran my fingers along the blouse's sleeve, letting the silk glide across my skin like armor. They had no idea it was a rare piece from a defunct French designer, worth more than Victoria's head-to-toe luxury label ensemble. But I wasn't about to hand her that knowledge. I'd stopped explaining myself a long time ago. Our parents' house still smelled like imported lilies and lemon oil, a place too polished to feel like home. The floors gleamed, the windows were spotless, and every mirror reflected a version of perfection I never fit into. I could hear the champagne flutes clinking in the background as my mother swept in from the kitchen like a swan on a catwalk. "Leah, sweetheart," she sighed, giving me the once-over. Disappointment disguised as maternal concern. "We've talked about this. Image matters." "What guests?" I asked, even though I already knew. "The Van der Beeks," Victoria chimed, preening in her mauve designer sheath. "Jessica Van der Beek just landed VP at Franklin and Bloom. 7-figure salary, plus stock options." There it was, the comparison trap laid bare. Jessica had been the overachiever since high school, a vision of crisp ambition with perfect hair. My sister licked her lips like she was savoring the taste of superiority. At 34, Victoria worked in luxury real estate, though the word luxury mostly applied to her facade. Her financial house of cards leaned heavily on loans and parental subsidies. Still, she wore her success like a crown, and our parents bowed every time she entered a room. "Maybe borrow something from Victoria," Mom suggested. "You're about the same size." "Not even close," I muttered, my smile brittle. "Comfortable?" "That's so you," Victoria snorted. "Some of us actually try." They never saw it, of course, the strategy behind my simplicity. While they were judging my clothes, I was calculating something else entirely. In the shadows of their glittering world, I was building mine, one deliberate choice at a time. But that Easter morning, something was different. There was a tension in the air, a static buzz under every word. I had the strange sensation of standing on the edge of a photograph just before it bursts into light. Brunch was a performance, as always. Jessica arrived with her polished husband and kids who looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. Victoria launched into her monologue of million-dollar listings and networking parties. "Leah works in finance," my mother offered when Jessica asked, her voice a delicate apology wrapped in a compliment. "Photography," I corrected with a smile. "Independent." Jessica nodded politely. Her gaze flicked over my clothes. "She's being modest," Dad added, clearly unsure what exactly I did. "Numbers. Cameras. Techie stuff. Remember how she used to color-code her allowance?" Victoria laughed, swirling her mimosa. "Our little accountant." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. After brunch, as the others buzzed in the living room, I wandered down the hallway to grab my camera from my purse. I returned just in time to see Victoria's hands buried in it like it was a clearance bin at Saks. "Looking for gum," she said, unbothered. But her hand held something else. A printed portfolio statement. Not my usual camera gear. Not even remotely close. Her eyes skimmed it. Her face changed. The number at the bottom wasn't small. It wasn't just a number. It was the number. $12. 4,000,000. My lungs forgot how to breathe. What the hell is this? I reached for the paper. She yanked it back. This isn't real, she whispered, voice barely audible. But she was already reading line by line. I could feel it happening. The way the moment fractured like glass. Her hands trembled. My stomach twisted. Leah, she said, stunned. Is this real? The hallway spun. I felt everything narrowing, like the lens on my camera zooming in. Yes, it's real. The number echoed in her voice. 12.4 million. And just like that, the photo I'd captured earlier, the shattering vase, the suspended chaos, took on a whole new meaning. Because the rail break had just begun. Victoria didn't say anything for a moment. She was processing. I watched it happen in real time, her brain trying to reconcile the Leah she knew with the Leah whose name was attached to that bank statement. You have $12 million, she finally said, like repeating it would make it vanish. Her mouth opened, shut, then opened again. Is this from some inheritance? Lottery? Who gave this to you? I shook my head slowly. No one gave it to me. I earned it. Doing what? You take pictures. I invest, I replied simply. Every shoot, every dollar I didn't spend, I invested it. I learned. I studied the markets. I diversified. I bought into things early and held on. Real estate syndicates. Startups. Even NFTs for a hot minute. I took risks, but smart ones. Victoria blinked, like the words were foreign. This has to be fake. It's not. Then you've been lying to everyone. You let us believe you were broke. I never said I was broke. You assumed. Because I didn't flaunt it. She backed away like I'd slapped her, clutching the paper like it burned. Mom and Dad need to see this. Victoria, wait. Too late. She turned and stormed into the dining room, the scene unfolding like a nightmare I couldn't stop. Everyone, Leah's been keeping secrets. My parents looked up from their coffee. Jessica and her husband froze mid-sip. Victoria slammed the paper onto the table like it was Exhibit A in a trial. She's rich. Like, millions rich. She's been lying to us this whole time. Gasps. Confused stares. My mother reaching for the paper with trembling hands. Leah, is this true? It is, I said. But I wasn't hiding it. I was living simply. There's a difference. My father leaned closer to the document, his eyes wide. How long? Since I was 24. Small investments at first. It grew. I took online courses. Talked to mentors. I built it brick by brick. Jessica shifted uncomfortably. Her husband coughed into his hand. And you said nothing, my mother whispered. All these years. You wouldn't have believed me. Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. You let me pay for your birthday dinner last year. You let Mom cry about how worried she was for your future. You played the part. Because telling you the truth would have changed everything. And I wasn't ready for this. My mother looked devastated. My father looked ashamed. You could have helped us, Victoria said. Paid off Mom and Dad's mortgage. Helped me consolidate my debt. Bought a family vacation house. Something. So, that's what this is about? You want my money now? No. I want you to act like family. Like someone who cares. I have cared. Quietly. I've been contributing to their retirement for 3 years. They just didn't know it was from me. That's impossible, my dad muttered. It's not. Check the deposits. $700 a month. Automatically transferred. My mother gasped. We thought that was a pension adjustment. Victoria was fuming. So you have been helping them. Just not helping me. There it was. This isn't about family. This is about you feeling entitled. No, she said, trembling with indignation. This is about you pretending to be poor while stockpiling wealth. About you judging us while you live this double life. The Hendersons stood quietly, collecting their things. Jessica gave me a strange look, half pity, half respect. We should go, she said. My parents were silent. My mother looked older than I'd ever seen her. My father couldn't meet my eyes. Victoria took one step forward. You're not leaving here without a conversation. Not this time. I looked around the table. This wasn't a conversation. It was a reckoning. The room grew still. Even the air felt heavy. My mother sat back down slowly, like the weight of the truth was too much for her legs. My father rubbed his temples as if willing the numbers to make sense. Victoria kept pacing. You let us treat you like you were the underdog. Like you needed help. You let us. I didn't correct you, I admitted. But I never asked for help. You offered your pity, and I let you think it mattered. Unbelievable, she muttered. I met her eyes. I did it for peace. Not to deceive. It was just easier than explaining that I didn't need your approval. You made fools of us, Leah. You did that yourselves. And with that, silence fell again, but it wasn't the kind that brings calm. It was the kind that cracks things wide open. Victoria paced the length of the dining room like a predator in a too-small cage. Her heels clicked against the hardwood in perfect tempo with the pounding in my chest. My parents remained seated, unmoving, stunned into silence. My mother clutched the portfolio statement like a fragile heirloom she didn't know how to handle. My father just stared, not at the paper, but at me. We need to talk, Victoria snapped, her voice sharp and brittle. About how we fix this. Fix what exactly? I asked, folding my arms. The fact that I'm not the failure you assumed I was? Or the fact that now you want a piece of what you mocked? Her mouth twisted. That is not fair. Isn't it? You never once asked what I was working on. You only saw what I wasn't spending. Because you acted like you were broke. You shop at consignment stores. You drive a beat-up car. A car I own outright, I interrupted. No payments, no debt. You mocked me for that. Victoria's eyes glinted. We wouldn't be in this mess if you'd just been honest. No, I said, my voice low. You're in this mess because you believe success only looks one way. My father finally spoke. Why keep it from us, Leah? Why let us worry about you? I inhaled slowly. Because if you'd known, you'd have seen me differently. And not in a good way. You'd have expected things. Demanded them. Like Victoria is doing now. Victoria scoffed. I just think if one of us has a windfall, the whole family should benefit. This wasn't a windfall, I snapped. This was years of work. Sacrifice. Self-control. Not a lottery ticket. My mother looked between us, her eyes wet. We just want to understand. Then listen, I said. Really listen. And I told them everything, the tiny freelance jobs, the long nights reading investment strategies, the mistakes, the slow gains, the breakthroughs. The day I stopped caring what anyone thought of me and focused on the future I wanted. You saw the surface, I said. But underneath, I was building something solid. And I didn't need to brag about it. There was a long pause. So what now? My father asked quietly. I met his eyes. That depends. Are you going to keep treating me like the problem? Or are you ready to acknowledge what I've built? No one answered. The room felt like a frozen frame, suspended, silent, uncertain. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it from my pocket. An email alert. From McCall and Gray Gallery. Subject, urgent, exhibit opportunity. I opened it. My breath caught. What is it? My mother asked. I stared at the screen. A gallery in New York. They want to feature my Urban Solitude series. They saw my portfolio online. Victoria blinked. Urban what? It's a series I've been working on for 2 years, I said slowly, still reading the email. It could lead to a national exhibit. Suddenly, the money wasn't the only surprise. You're serious, my dad said. Very. For the first time, I saw something crack in Victoria's eyes. A realization. That I hadn't just saved money. I'd built a life. A name. A future. One she'd never noticed until now. You're leaving, she whispered. I nodded. Maybe not forever. But yes, I think it's time. Because some pictures can only be taken once you're willing to step outside the frame. A week later, I was gone. The train to New York sliced through quiet landscapes like a silver blade, and I watched the world blur past the window, camera bag at my feet and a hollow echo in my chest. The confrontation had fractured something deeper than I expected. I thought I would feel victorious. I didn't. Not yet. I hadn't spoken to Victoria since Easter. She'd sent 3 texts, short, cold, and signed, and 1 voicemail that sounded more like a press release than an apology. My parents had called once. They asked how I was doing. They didn't ask if I was coming back. New York felt like the beginning of something, though. The McCall and Gray Gallery had booked me for a 3-month feature. My hotel in Soho overlooked cobbled streets and brick walls painted with forgotten graffiti. It was raw and vibrant and real, everything I craved. The gallery opening was set for Friday. Until then, I wandered. Camera in hand, I captured silence in motion. A man on a fire escape smoking a cigarette beneath neon lights. A child chasing pigeons in a cracked courtyard. A woman laughing through tears on a park bench. The city didn't pose. It revealed. And I felt myself revealing too. It was during one of those walks that I saw her. Jessica van der Beek. On Madison Avenue. Designer trench. Oversized sunglasses. Flanked by 2 men in tailored suits. She saw me the moment I saw her. We froze. Then she walked over, slow and deliberate, like a queen approaching a surprise guest. "Leah," she said. "Of all places." "Jessica." I lowered my camera. "I thought you were in Belmont." She smiled, cold and polished. "I'm on the board of McCall and Gray." My heart sank. Of course she was. She looked at my bag, then at my face. "So, the family's secret millionaire. Still living under the radar." "I'm just living." She tilted her head. "Your sister called me the night after Easter. She was in pieces. Said you blew everything up. She found out the truth." "She found out she's not the center of the story anymore," Jessica corrected. Her voice softened. "I admire it, you know. What you built. Quiet power. I wish I'd learned that sooner." I didn't reply. The air between us was too thin for nostalgia. Jessica studied me for a moment. "Be careful with them. Your family. Sometimes when people think you owe them, they never stop collecting." She walked away, her heels tapping like punctuation. That night, I received another message. Not from Victoria. From a lawyer. A formal notice. Victoria had filed a motion. A claim of shared inheritance. Despite knowing the money wasn't inherited, despite knowing it was mine, she was making it public. The headlines came 2 days later. Photographer heiress sued by sister in wealth feud. My inbox exploded. Gallery emails. Interview requests. Curious strangers. I became a headline. A hashtag. But the worst part wasn't the public attention. It was the email I received the morning of the opening. From my father. Subject, "What have you done?" One line inside. "You've embarrassed this family, Leah." I sat in the gallery's back office, staring at the screen while people outside clinked glasses beneath my photographs. Images of solitude. Strength. Secrets. And I felt like one of them frozen behind glass. Then I stood. I walked to the front of the gallery. A crowd had gathered. My work was everywhere. Enlarged. Framed. Admired. And for the first time, I didn't shrink under the weight of their eyes. I took the microphone beside the wine bar. And I began to speak. I stood at the microphone, heart pounding like a shutter click in a quiet studio. The crowd hushed, faces turning toward me, framed by soft gallery lighting and the towering black and white prints of my work. My story had been hijacked by headlines and assumptions, but this moment was mine. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice clear and steady. "You've seen my photographs. What you haven't seen is the silence they came from. The choices. The consequences. The people who loved me loudly when I was quiet and disappeared when I made noise." I paused, scanning the room. No Victoria. No parents. Just strangers, collectors, critics, and a few wide-eyed young women near the back who looked like they belonged behind the lens, not just in front of it. Every photo here represents a truth I chose to frame. Some truths are beautiful. Some are hard. But the most powerful ones? They're the ones you fight to take back. A murmur of applause. I stepped away, not waiting for more. Later that night, as the gallery emptied and the buzz faded, I sat alone in the corner, sipping lukewarm champagne. A quiet presence slid into the chair beside me. "Jessica, you were brave tonight," she said simply. Was I? Yes. And there's more coming. That lawsuit isn't going away easily. I know. She handed me a business card. A different law firm. She's one of the best in New York. She doesn't lose. And she doesn't tolerate manipulators. Call her. I took the card without a word. For once, Jessica didn't feel like an opponent. She felt like a mirror. 3 weeks later, the judge dismissed the case. Victoria's claim had no legal footing, but the damage she tried to cause, it lingered. She left town soon after, according to mutual acquaintances. Moved somewhere colder, more anonymous. Our parents stopped calling. Whether out of shame or solidarity with her, I never knew. It hurt, but it didn't break me. Because by then, I'd already made my next move. I used a portion of the money, less than they assumed, more than I ever thought I'd risk, to open the Frame Project, a non-profit studio for young women interested in photography and visual storytelling. We offered cameras, classes, gallery space, mentors, belief. The first student who walked through the doors reminded me of myself, awkward, observant, unpolished brilliance tucked under layers of doubt. Her name was Maya. She was 16, homeschooled, with a battered old Canon held together by tape and grit. Her first photo was of a cracked sidewalk with a single yellow dandelion pushing through. When she showed it to me, proud and hesitant, I felt something warm twist inside my chest. This was the legacy I wanted. Not a family name. Not luxury cars or gallery awards. Not even $12 million. Impact. Truth. Freedom. Months passed. Then a year. One spring afternoon, while hanging prints in the new gallery wing, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. From Victoria. It was short. Leah. I lost myself in comparison. I confused love with leverage. You were right. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday you'll let me try to earn it. V. I read it twice. Then again. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just folded it neatly and slid it between the pages of my old investment ledger. The one I kept not for the numbers, but for the story it told. Forgiveness would take time. But I'd already learned how to be patient. Because the best photos? They take time. Light. Darkness. Stillness. And the courage to develop the truth, no matter how long it takes. I closed the book. Then I picked up my camera. And I kept going.